So somebody at Roblox saw that video. At 17, they became my first customer. I was scared to death. The highs are really high and the lows are really low. Within the span of 3 months, I filed for bankruptcy. I had a car repossessed. I knew that there was something bigger and better for me. This was not happening to me. It was happening for me.
What carried you through that?
You have something in you that only you alone can offer. And just driving home, it makes you stronger.
Yeah.
One video online changed everything for me.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Atypical Journey, the podcast where we dive into transformative stories of individuals who have turned their lives around and who have made something out of difficult moments. And my guest today, I am so excited. I met him just yesterday, and hearing him speak 5 minutes, I told to myself I have to have him here because I was inspired by his talk, and I'm sure that you guys will be inspired by his life story. He's an award-winning producer. He is the creative force behind Bentley Media. He is crafting unforgettable brand stories for entrepreneurs and powerful figures around the world. So welcome, Maxwell Bentley. Thank you so much for making this happen. I can't believe that I met you yesterday and today you are here sitting with me to walk us through your life journey.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me here. That was a very kind introduction. That's a lot to live up to, so hopefully I can deliver the juice for your viewers.
I have no doubt. Hearing you speak yesterday, it was so authentic.
Oh.
I'm like, this is the life story of everyone trying to make it, who have a dream and trying to create something and maybe thinking of limitations. So we're not going to dive into that right away. I want you to take us
good. I gotta ease into that. We gotta go easy into that.
We have to go all the way from the beginning. So tell me more about your early life and your family life. Where did you grow up, and what kind of kid were you? Troublemaker?
You know, I was more of a push it to the limit kind of kid. I'd never got in trouble a lot, really. I grew up in North Atlanta, Georgia, which is kind of in between the burbs and the boonies. So I lived in a house, there were cows down the street. You know, there was one house that had beat up classic cars. Like, it was just a very kind of loose neighborhood. And I had a great childhood. I remember very, very happy memories as a kid. I actually stole my mom's video camera when I was 6 years old, and that kind of led me to where I am today.
So as 6 years old, what led you to stealing that camera? What about taking pictures or video was appealing to you at the time?
I can't explain it. Like, I just picked it up and I hit the record button, and there was something, I had felt like a young superhero who had just discovered his powers. Like, I was running around capturing the world around me, and if you I had some old, this was back when cameras had videotapes, so this is before the year 2000. That's all I'll say. So I was really capturing everything. So whether it was something exciting like fireworks on the 4th of July or mundane things like my mom doing laundry, like if it was happening in front of me, I was recording it. And I didn't have a sophisticated editing system back in that day. I had to record everything. Like, if I wanted to make a short film, I had to record everything to tape in order. And I used to make little stop motion videos with my toys and different things I would record myself. And that never went away. I really enjoyed it. It was something that my parents championed. My mom championed the creativity. I'm sorry, Mom, I never gave you your camera back. I hope you forgive me for all the Okay, I had to throw that in there.
It's time to pay it back.
She's gonna watch this. So that's a little bit about how it began.
So was your mom a creative as a person, or that was just her personal camera?
She is incredibly artistic. She has an eye for creativity, for design. She was actually a gardener. And she had, in my opinion, a very strong personal brand. She was called the Accidental Gardener. And what she would do is she would go to antique shops, thrift shops, and she would buy things like let's say an old lantern, and then she would put a potted plant in it, and she would make it all pretty, and then she would take that to an art show. She would take those to art shows and sell them. So growing up, I was always around like flowers, and my mom was always doing artistic things. My father is very technical. He is an electrician. He had an electrical contracting company. So both my parents were entrepreneurs. My grandparents were entrepreneurs as well, small business owners. And so there's a piece of this entrepreneurship that is genetic. And so I came from a family of people who were misfits, who didn't quite fit the mold, who did not come from money by any stretch of the imagination. And all of that led me to where I am today. That love, that support, the influence from both my parents and my grandparents, and the community that I call home have been instrumental in the success that I see today.
So from that moment of exploration, what about when you got to, let's say, high school or your teenage years? Did you see this as a career or as a passion, a hobby? What did you go to school for, and what were your dreams for your future career at that point?
Well, it's interesting because in 2007, I was 13, I got on YouTube, and this was back when YouTube was a tiny platform. Well, not super tiny, but it was just getting off the ground. And there is a video game platform called Roblox that is huge,
massive now,
multi-billion-dollar company now. 20 years ago, though, they were maybe 4 or 5 people in an office in Silicon Valley. And I was an early beta tester of that game, and I happened to create YouTube videos about Roblox while I was 13, 14, and I had a video get 2.5 million views.
Wow.
Which, you know,
at the time, this is super duper viral. Still now.
Yeah, this is before Mr. Beast, you know, and all these huge YouTubers, algorithm hacking, all that crap. So this is back when 2.5 million. It's like, whoa, you did something cool. And so somebody at Roblox saw that video, and they reached out to me and said, hey, we want you to create content for us.
Wow.
And so at 17, they became my first customer. And so, however, at the time, I was still not considering it a full-time gig. I was still thinking about it as, oh, I'll just do it on the side. I would hate to be a starving artist. And it was groomed into me that I would go to college to do computer science because I was always on a computer. I had a Windows 95 when I was 3 years old, and I was, typing, and I would go to the children's websites while my parents were around, and then when they left the room, I would go to comedycentral.com and watch the South Park episode clips and all that crap, and then when they would come back in the room, I would click away. So that's where I was. So I didn't immediately see it as a career.
But it's crazy to hear that I had Roblox as my first client at 17. I don't know if you realize how insane that is today, but looking back, how do you define that moment? How did this moment define the rest of your career, even though in retrospect, at the time, it maybe didn't seem like a big deal? There must be something in your way of creating that attracted them. What is it that set you apart when you look back at that moment?
You know how there's times in life where you have these life and career defining moments, like there's something small that happens that just lights up everything inside you, and your gut and your inner child is just screaming like, yes, like this is it. It's the Japanese ikigai. right? It's what are you good at? What does the world need? And what is the world willing to pay money for? And this is the intersection. It's the trifecta of those three things. And so at 17, of course I was overjoyed. This is a game that I spent 4 years playing. And I had just gotten an email from their creative director. And so I remember I printed the email, like I ran over, I told my mom, I told my grandma, I told everybody, I'm like, I'm working for Roblox. And I'm like, I was making $14 an hour at the time, which at 17, I felt like I was rich.
Well, back then, it's a small amount. For 17 years old, you might think that you hit the lottery.
No, I mean, I was ready to retire. I was like, I'm good. I'm ready to drop out of high school. I don't need any of that crap. Like, I'm here. I want to do it. I'm going to continue doing this. So it's just a phenomenal feeling. And it happened. So my motto that I live by in everything that I do, not only for myself, but for my clients, is that one video can change everything. And I live by that motto because I've lived it.
Yeah.
One video online changed everything for me. And it's incredible how that can happen. And I had the willingness to do that. I had the willingness to overcome the self-consciousness of being on camera as a teenager and face all the potential internet trolls and all that crap. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to put my head down, create stuff that I like, stuff that feels good to me. The right people are going to lean in and the wrong people are going to lean out.
And where did you go from there? More videos and becoming a YouTuber was the next thing? Or like, did you in parallel continue to invest in your school, trying to find maybe more linear or traditional career path?
Well, from there, so what ended up happening with Roblox was I was creating content for their YouTube channel. So for anybody who's not familiar, Roblox is a game platform where people can sign on and create their own games and share them with other people online. And I was reviewing games. I was making that a video series. And eventually they said, hey, we're getting ready to do our iPhone app launch. Would you be willing to do the trailer? I said, of course, I would love to do that. Say less. And I created it, worked alongside their senior producer and their chief marketing, and with back and forth with Apple. Getting anything onto the Apple Store is a pain in the ass, just FYI. We had to go through 10 or 20 different revisions before it got approved. But once it was approved and it was live, I got over 100 million impressions online.
Wow.
And when that happened, I said, you know what, I'm going to make a business out of this. And I was 20, that was 11 years ago. And I started my business right then and there. And what's interesting is I ended up, even after that, going to school and studying computer science.
Wow.
For some weird reason.
You felt like you needed that safety net to fall back on at some point?
Isn't that funny how that happens as creatives? We kind of have this self-doubt about us that just because we're artistic and extremely talented at things that most businesses don't realize they need, we think we're somehow inferior, and that's going to be a hobby, and we need something that's stable or technical. And so, begrudgingly, I went into computer science. I made it 2 years, and I was making straight A's, so I knew what I was doing. But there was one day, Edith, that I was sitting in class, studying how electricity flows through the CPU, saying, what the hell am I doing here? This is not where I belong. And I actually got up out of class that day, in the middle of class. I went to the academic advising office. I said, you guys need to put me in film where I belong. Please and thank you. And that was one of the best decisions I had ever made in my life up to that point. And I never looked back. And suddenly I was in classes where I was much more aligned with what was going on. And in computer science, everybody, this is no disrespect to CS, computer science, everybody kind of keeps to themselves. You know, everybody's locked in, coding away. And then I walk in the room and I'm like, hey, did anybody catch the Super Bowl yesterday? Like, what'd you guys do over the weekend? And everybody, every time I'd sit down, everybody would just be like,
this guy's not serious.
hey, who is, oh God, he's back.
Yeah.
Like, get him away. And then I get into film and I take a couple of communications classes and marketing classes, and suddenly I'm with my people. And so,
where did the confidence come from to tell to yourself, I realize this is not for me, I'm going to switch? I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people stuck within jobs, within careers, within degrees that are not for them, but for some reason. I remember I was told multiple times when I moved to the US that I have to go to nursing, for example, because that's where I can secure a job if I'm an immigrant and stuff. And I was like, that's not what I like. My mom is a nurse. I don't like that. So where did you get the confidence to say, okay, you know what? This is not what I like. I'd rather go somewhere else.
I was 20 years old. I had no confidence. I was scared to death, and I was hoping that I was doing the right thing. I knew, however, that there was something wrong. I knew that I did not want to spend the rest of my life in a glass box, in a cubicle, punching the clock, realizing somebody else's dream. That wasn't for me. That doesn't mean that that lifestyle is wrong. In business, there's three types of people. There are the entrepreneurs, that's who we are, we're the risk takers. There are the artists, the people who make everything look amazing. And then there are the enablers. I used to call them the back office people, but that's a little bit derogatory. And that doesn't also fully explain what they do for us. The enablers are they're the support team. They're the people who look at the spreadsheets and make sure everything's happening the right way. We have the system. They keep us grounded. Yeah. I knew I was an entrepreneur, and I knew I was also an artist and a creative. And so changing my major, I'm like, I hope this is the right thing to do. And if it's not, you know what? I'm just going to have to figure it out and do something else.
Yeah, that's what's awesome about taking a risk.
With that. Yeah. Listen, you have to take risk. You have to do something that most people won't do if you want to get to places that most people don't end up at.
That's powerful, because a lot of us get stuck there.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of us get stuck in, I want to do what I love, but I also need to make money.
Yeah.
And most people don't realize that there is an opportunity to do both. You either have to find it or you have to create it. And there's levels to it. You can ease your way into it. You can bootstrap it. You can try to take out loans and get investors. I never did that, but there's a lot of people who do that. But as long as you're aware of what you love and you know for sure what you love, you are already farther along than most people.
Did you go through a phase of working for maybe other people first before turning that creativity into business idea, or that entrepreneurial spirit that you, I would say, got from your parents pushed you right away into doing your own thing very early?
I've never had a 9-to-5. Actually, okay, I take that back. I was 16 years old. I did intern in my stepmom's company. She had worked, she was the chief, I believe, operations of a employee benefits administration company. So
that's nice, but that doesn't count.
I was there for a summer, and I actually got a lot of value out of the experience. I got to sharpen my social skills as a 16-year-old, whatever social skills were there. And I got to see what office dynamics were like and how things were done. And so that doesn't, you're right though, that doesn't really
count as a 9-to-5 now.
Maybe on paper. But no, I had always ever since I was 17, I've been doing my own thing, and I've had my company. I've had all the ups and downs that have come with that.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure, as you know, and as anybody watching or listening knows, that the highs are really high and the lows are really low with any sort of business ownership.
Yeah.
But when you have a drive is the only thing that cannot be taken away from you. Money, houses, cars, relationships, situationships, whatever, those can all come and go. But if you are committed to something bigger and you have a drive, that can never be taken away. And that's what leads to success.
That drive that pushed you through all those ups and downs, was it always constant and consistent, or did you ever experience anything that kind of shook that?
I have had my confidence shaken. I have had my belief in myself shaken. I can't say that I've had my drive shaken. I weathered COVID-19. There was a period in my life where within the span of 3 months, I filed for bankruptcy. I had a car repossessed. I broke up with the person I thought was going to be my wife. And then we had a suicide in my family.
Wow.
All within the span of 4 months. And right after that, I spent 5 months car-free in Atlanta, which is really hard to do, by the way. New Yorkers have it easy. Everything's walkable up here.
Yeah.
And that whole stretch, I remember feeling to myself, I maybe had $0, I had $1 maybe in a bank account one day, but I still felt rich. Because I knew that there was something bigger and better for me, and that this was not happening to me, it was happening for me. There were decisions that I made in my 20s that led me to that exact sequence of events. And I'm glad that I had to go through all of that. I'm glad that I didn't lose my apartment. I almost did. I'm glad that I was facing eviction. I'm glad that the car got towed. I'm glad that I had to take the walk of shame and walk to a lawyer's, find a cheap lawyer to get me out of the mess that I was in. Like, that's, you have to eat a big slice of humble pie, because, and that's what I had to do, because my ego had gotten out of control. I was living way past my means. I was making money, but I was spending more than I was making. That's how I got into that situation. And when you have a $40, $50, $60, $70, $100,000 month at 24 and you're single, that's like the kiss of death. That is a dangerous combination. And so I had to really do some inner work in that 4-month stretch. I had to go in and just let go of all the stuff that led me to that. And within 5 months, I bought a car with cash and completely turned my life around.
I knew that this conversation would be deep, would be really touching, but nothing prepared me to this level of depth. I don't know how lower we can get from this situation that you just explained in just the span of 4 months. What carried you through that? How did you not just sink and decide to let yourself go?
There is something in me that I don't know how to shut off. I guess it was just this delusion, if you will. I knew that there was something bigger on the other side of all of this. There had to be. And I've read over 100 at least 100 books, business books, marketing books. And I knew that all the big entrepreneurs and the names that we know, Walt Disney filed bankruptcy. Dave Ramsey, financial influencer, he filed bankruptcy. He went broke. He had all this crap happen to him. Oprah Winfrey, look at her story. And then she became the queen of daytime television. Now, if you go ask any of those folks, Steve Jobs was fired from Apple at 30. After he had made tens of millions of dollars, they fired him. And I guarantee you, if you go back and ask any of these folks, you ask them what carried you, they had to know that there was something bigger on the other side. And they, even if they didn't quite believe it, they still took action and they kept going. They kept pushing. They did not take no for an answer. And my dad was worried that I was going to take my own life. And I said, you know, Dad, I appreciate that. That means you love me. That's not in the menu for me, bro.
Something bigger is waiting for me.
That's not it, man. One of these days, I'm going to be on stage talking about this. And there's going to be somebody in the audience who they spent the last bit of money they had, or maybe they put it on a credit card to go to the event. They went to gas up their car and they kept swiping the credit cards because they kept getting declined. There's going to be somebody in that audience who is in that situation, and they're going to feel a push to keep going. And that's what's keeping me going, is keeping somebody else going.
That reminds me of a story that Napoleon Hill shared in his book, or the 3 feet from gold, where you're almost at the point of winning and then you experience temporary defeat and then you're abandoned 3 feet away from gold. That's what happened to one of the characters in the book. And a lot of people just stop when they think that this is it. There's no getting back from this point. And I usually ask this question at the end of the interview, but I feel like this is the right moment to ask.
Time. We're already down in the valley, so we got to lift back up before we leave.
Yes, I want you to think of someone going through these situations, these hardships, whatever it is, whether it's personal, like you shared, relationships wise, whether it's financial or anything that they might be going through, and they think that this is the valley, this is the darkest, and there's no hope. I want you to look at that person and share the wisdom you learned along the way.
You have something in you that only you alone can offer, and the world needs you. And you may not see it in yourself because you're too close to it. You grew up with it. I grew up around cameras. Yeah. I grew up with everything that I do. Sometimes I forget, but if you can, you have to surround yourself with people who see your value, whether it's your family, friends, or your chosen family. And you must realize that life is going to throw you curveballs, man. Life is going to test you. You want to be a millionaire? Life is going to be like, okay, let's see about that. Let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do when things don't go your way. Let's see what happens when the people in your life that you love, that you thought you could trust, let's see what happens when they shake things up. And you, above all, you have to love yourself. You have to take care of yourself. You have to have a sense of self-empowerment. And even if the self-doubt creeps in, even if the anxiety, the shame, I was walking 45 minutes to the grocery store. Wow. Carrying my groceries back. Now, there are people who have been in worse situations than I'm in. I'm making mine sound like, I was very fortunate to have a home, so I don't want to, be like the, oh, poor pitiful me party. But I tell you what, when you're used to having a car and you're used to driving places and you're used to that, like that changes you.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing I heard Tony Robbins say this, and I said it earlier in our conversation, but everything in life, there's nothing that happens to you. Everything happens for you. And you may not realize why until a little bit later on, but if you can hold on to that and know that there is something big and beautiful and amazing for you on the other side of this, you will live an extraordinary life.
So you just need to hold on. And you just need to
white knuckle it, baby. Yeah. White knuckle it. If you're an entrepreneur and you're going through it, just keep going through it, man. Just go down. Whatever goes down has to come back up.
That's powerful, and it's extraordinary, and we can just go cut because this is awesome. But of course, we want to know how you got back up from that situation, and what is a ray of light that appeared before you after those 4 months, and how did you turn that situation around to get to where you are today?
So before, I'll call it the valley, before my phoenix rising from the ashes moment, I had a team, I had video production projects, and when all of that went down, I had to let go of my team. I had to figure out how I was going to make money and solo. And so I still had all my video gear, and so I was lucky in a sense that I had an established reputation, and I had a high value skill, which was creating Hollywood style trailers for businesses. But I like to create promotional videos that don't feel like traditional promotional videos. I like to create marketing videos that are more like Hollywood style trailers. What's the difference? Why are trailers so compelling? Trailers tell a powerful story about a hero, somebody that viewers can relate to. I have taken that model from Hollywood and I put it into my work with my clients. So I went back to my clients and I told them about what I was doing, like, hey, I've got this new angle that I'm trying, I've got this new style that I want to try, and I had some interest, and what I was doing was I was charging $5,000 at the time for a project. And so I thought to myself, okay, if I just get one project a month, I'll be good. I'll be above water. I'll be okay. And I was able to do that. I got at least one, and then the day that we had the video shoot, I rented a car. I had very blessed to have a car rental place right next to where I live. And when I say right next to where I live, it was a 40-minute walk. But still, it was doable.
Close enough.
Close enough. And so I would rent a nice SUV, drive up to the video shoot. My clients didn't know any different. I show up, I do a great job, I deliver my product, client is happy, and I continue doing that. I get to a point where I save up enough money to buy a car of my own, Hyundai Elantra, 10-year-old car. It was a really interesting story how it happened. Originally it was $10K. They wanted $10K for it. And I said, I can't do $10K. And I walked out of the dealership and they called me and said, hey, if you can do $7,500 cash, we'll give it to you. I said, that I can do. Because I don't like to negotiate. Buying cars sucks. But I got the car and I had spent 5 months walking, taking the bus, taking the train, to get across town, we don't have a nice transit system in Atlanta like we do up here in New York. To get across town sometimes takes 2 hours.
Cool.
Well, I guess here, depending on where you're going, it might take 2 hours. But the buses are not near as frequent, the trains are not near as frequent. And I just remember getting into the car, nice and clean.
The emotions.
And just driving home. And just thinking to myself, you know what, I think everything's going to be okay. And that night, there's a kind of a highway where I live, and I just drove on the highway at sunset. It was very cinematic. And I was just driving on the highway. I turned up the music, I rolled the windows down, and I just, for the first time in 5 months, I felt autonomy. I felt freedom. And I drove to a networking event on the other side of town that I really wanted to go to, but I couldn't because I had no way of really getting over there unless I wanted to spend a fortune on Ubers. And I stood up, I did a 30-second pitch. I create Hollywood-style trailers for businesses who refuse to blend in. And I helped them stand out, build trust, and remove doubt so that they can create a real connection with their audience. Somebody came over to me, her name is Amanda Arnold, and she hired me that night. And that paid for the car.
Wow. Wow.
So
I'm speechless, honestly.
That's how it happened.
You put everything into perspective, and what can sound like a simple thing, right? Like acquiring a car, something as simple as having a client. But what it means for the journey is what I'm hearing here, like the weight of that, of not having let go of that dream and having that show up and to show you that, you know, it can still happen. This is really, 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 really amazing to hear. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, you know, it's funny. A couple weeks later, they sent me the title in the mail. Yeah. I didn't even know what a title was. I had financed all of my cars up to that. I always had car payments, and I still drive my Hyundai.
Really?
Yeah.
Sentimental value.
I don't need to drive anything else. It's unassuming.
Yeah.
I can pack $25,000 of video equipment in the trunk and nobody would know.
That's smart, actually.
Stealth wealth.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll rent a Porsche for the weekend, but I'll rent it.
Yeah.
That means I give it back. It becomes somebody else's. I mean, yeah, I could get cars if I wanted to, but just after everything I went through, it just...
Get your priorities.
I'll enjoy them, but I just don't feel like I need them. I don't have anything to prove.
That's liberating in some way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't have anything to prove to anyone.
I'm here.
Because a lot of people focus on that first before focusing on anything else. Like, how am I perceived? I want to show that I have this, I have that, and I made it even when you didn't.
And that was exactly me in my 20s. And I remember thinking and feeling to myself, I had to do some deep therapy. I'm not talking about ChatGPT therapy. I'm talking about like go to a really good therapist that I love. And figured out that because I was bullied in school, that by the time I was coming of age, in my adolescence, in my 20s, I felt like, well, I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna prove to them and prove to the world that I am somebody. And so everything became external. It was the designer clothes. It was the, I'm gonna take out loans and credit cards. I was $250,000 in credit cards.
Wow.
And car, and there was a car in there too. I mean, in the hole, in debt, at 25. How crazy is that?
That's crazy.
Because I was trying to impress everybody else. And through this, we were talking about the valley. I've heard other people refer to it as cycling. Like as you're in the washer, you're cycling. After I cycled, I wasn't trying to impress nobody. Everything shifted from the external to the internal. What is going to impress me? What is going to impress me 5 years ago? What is going to make me happy? What is something? What style of business is going to make me feel fulfilled and make me feel joy? And that's what that 4-month stretch of madness did for me. I shifted from the external, seeking validation, approval seeking behavior and transactions and purchases, and shifted to, you know what? I'm going to make myself happy. I'm going to do my best to not care what anybody thinks. Now, everybody says, you shouldn't care what people think. You shouldn't care. But well, guess what? We're human. We're going to care.
Yeah, it's easier said than done.
But I shifted to loving myself, giving my former self, who was my inner child, who was bullied, giving him a big hug in my mind, and just saying, hey, man.
It's crazy to imagine that you would be bullied. What for? People are crazy.
I was so shy.
What?
I was so shy. I was so awkward. Oh my gosh, man!
That's hard to imagine.
I think about myself at 13, 14, and just being. I had acne and little wireframe glasses and braces, and I had a bowl haircut, and I remember I would go talk to the girls and they would all run away from me and everything. I look at him and I say, I love that guy.
Yeah.
I love him because if I had been the teenager that I wanted to be, the one that was popular, the one that went on dates, that got to go to the prom, that didn't get bullied, if I had been the teenager that I wanted to be, I wouldn't be the man that I'm proud to be.
Dang, that's a great perspective. All of what you went through actually took you to this point. Of course, it's not pleasant going through all that.
And I don't want to gloss over the difficult part. So, yes, filing bankruptcy is difficult. It's hard. Yes, breaking up with somebody you're in a relationship with and it does not serve you is hard. Having your car picked up by the repo guy is hard. It's really, really difficult. But you know what? It strengthens you. It makes you stronger. The little things don't bother you as much after that. That's because if you can deal with 4 months of chaos, sometimes, and for some folks, it's even longer, and the events are even worse. And they're still here, and they're still creating, and they go on to create incredible and do incredible things.
So from that time, right, you went on to create amazing stuff. You worked with big companies and big names out there. I looked at your website and your work is really immaculate.
Thank you.
And how do you lead the team that you have right now, and what is it that you guys are offering to your clients right now?
So there was one thing that I knew, and that was from reading business books, traveling the country, going to seminars and marketing events, business events, working with coaches, is that when you are just getting off the ground, and in many ways, even though I had a reputation and I had a portfolio, I did feel like I was getting back off the ground. When you don't have a team, when you don't have a bunch of money in the bank, and you're just starting off, as long as you focus on creating an incredible product, every little thing will sort itself out. And so I knew that as long as I kept showing up for my clients and I kept creating incredible pieces that were and that I kept creating incredible pieces, that I knew the clients would find me, that I would get referrals, that everything that I would do would come back to me eventually. And so I will occasionally find clients online, on social media. They will find me there. I will sometimes run ads and find clients. A lot of clients are referrals. And who I love working with are entrepreneurs who have become very successful, and they never really had their story told. Or they never felt like they had their story told properly or to the correct amount of depth. And what I love to do is work with them, figure out what kind of visuals, what kind of music, how we're going to piece everything together so that we're going to make their audience feel a certain way, feel an affinity towards them, so that by the time they interact with them and they're ready to sign up, become a client, whatever it is, that it feels like a no-brainer to them, because you have told your story in such a way that doesn't feel like a boring, skippable, forgettable ad or a commercial. You have created such a strong personal brand through this video that is going to find the people who need to hear your words, your message, and your style in the way that only you can provide.
And a lot of people out there are like that. They create amazing products and they have great companies. We use some of their products, but we don't know who they are. And they don't realize that that personal brand actually drives revenue, because people like to connect with people. When you see someone's story, when you see who they are, what they stand for, now it's no longer just a product, there's a story behind. So this is really a great thing that you are doing, and it's important.
Building a personal brand is hundreds of times easier than building an institutional one, by orders of magnitude. And it's because there is a human interest, and there are going to be some people, there is going to be a whole category of people who are drawn to what you do, what you say, how you say it. Just for example, let's take 5 video producers, 5 videographers. Let's say they all do similar services. When they get up on stage, when they write books, and when they create social media content, if they say the same thing, but they're going to say it 5 different ways, 5 different sets of words, 5 different perspectives, 5 different biases, and as a result, they're going to attract 5 different crowds of people. When you have a personal brand, you have no competition. Say what?
You find your people.
How does that work though? How can 10 videographers not compete with each other? Because every one of them has a unique style that nobody else can replicate. They all have eyes, ears, minds. They all have interests. They have ways of communicating and working with clients that certain people are going to be drawn towards.
You are also an author, you are a speaker. That's how I met you yesterday as Speakpreneur. How did you find your voice, and how did you, from that shy teenager in school, how did you find your voice and know that you have something to transmit to the world?
I had to walk through the fire. Life had happened to me. There's an excellent definition of marketing that I really wish I could remember who said this. If you know who said this, leave it down in the chat. Marketing is saying something powerful that is true, and then saying it over and over and over and over again in different ways until the right people find you.
That's a great one.
And so I had to figure out, like, okay, like for a while I was saying, I'm going to help you attract your dream clients. I was like, yeah, that's nice. That works. I mean, I was doing $100,000 a year as a freelance videographer with that. But then when I started saying, hey, I help you create a Hollywood-style trailer for your business, that's when the projects became $25,000 to $100,000 per video.
Wow. And I remember that's how you introduced yourself to me when I asked you what is your industry.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I use it because it works. And nobody else is using it yet.
Yeah, don't steal it.
Don't steal my crap.
Don't steal it.
That's okay. They can if they want to. I'll find something else that works better.
Yeah. You also inspire others to follow the dreams, and you also like host events, and you are a speaker in other people's events. And what do you like about all that?
I love to see entrepreneurs the moment they feel empowered, because they might have a loud voice in their life telling them they can't, or they shouldn't, or they wouldn't, or they couldn't, and they just have this something thumping in their chest. Yeah. And they have two choices after that. They can either chase it, or they can drink and numb the pain until they die. That's it.
That's not fun.
No, it's not. And so I like to, now I used to go on stage and say everybody should be an entrepreneur. I don't do that anymore. Because I don't believe that anymore. I don't think everybody should be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is hard. It takes a certain personality. It takes a certain risk profile. It takes a certain willingness to be the salmon that swims upstream, doing all the things that none of the other fish are doing. Most people don't want to do that. And so, but to the people who are, the misfits, the people who were bullied, to the people who, by the way, everybody who I know who was bullied in school was awesome now. So you've got that going for you. Yeah. But the people who never felt like they fit in with any sort of clique, the ones who were awkward when they were teenagers, maybe they're still awkward. I'm still awkward to this day. I watered a plant for 5 months, and I was so happy about it before I realized it was fake.
No way.
And my mama's a gardener.
You trolling us?
No! I was so proud of myself.
Oh my God.
And my mom, when she found out about that, oh Lord, she almost uninvited me to Christmas. Whew. So I'm still awkward sometimes. I still screw things up sometimes. I'm a human just like everybody else. But it's me against me on this golf course. Yeah. And for everybody, you can't let go of that, can you?
It's crazy.
So, okay, let me give you a little more context. First of all, I paid attention in 3rd grade. Yeah. I know that water evaporates. Mm-hmm. So when you pour the water into the apparently fake plant, I thought it was getting absorbed by the plant. Yeah. Which makes perfect sense, because if it was fake, surely at some point it would overflow and water would slip onto the floor. I'd be like, oh, this doesn't look right. And I'd take a little bit closer look and be like, oh, wow, that's plastic. That is styrofoam. That is not organic, bio, whatever matter. That's my story. That's awesome. Okay, and one more thing too. Yeah. At IKEA, they put the fake flowers next to the real flowers. In Atlanta, at least. The fake flowers are right next to the real flowers. It led me to the situation I'm in.
So it's not your fault. Let's blame IKEA.
No, it is not my fault. You are absolutely right.
Yes.
We are blaming IKEA.
IKEA's fault.
I love IKEA.
So for your ideal client watching right now, who has a story to tell, who created something amazing, but maybe never thought that they could present themselves in a certain way and would like one of those Hollywood-style trailers that you create, what is the creative process like? And if they want to use your service, what it is that they should know?
So I like to start everything with a conversation. Let's just talk. Let's see how we vibe, because I'm not for everybody. And I like to learn, like, what do you do? Why do you do it? What's your story in your words? And where do you think you're going? Like, I like to ask deeper questions like that. And then from there, we put together a creative brief and a script. Sometimes I will present different options, creative directions based on the conversation. So I have 3 primary styles for trailers. The first one is deep. That's the one that tells a really hard-hitting story. The second type is meat. So that's the one that's a little bit more buttoned up, you know, think lawyers, accountants, people who have businesses that maybe don't necessarily rely on the founder's story as much. Like maybe it's more about something visual or something like interior design or something like that. And then the last trailer type is bold. Those are the ones who, like my own trailer, my own trailers, they fit the bold category because I want to do something different. But I like to do things that are contrarian, not because they're contrarian, but because they're things that I believe and they happen to be contrarian. And so once my client is totally happy with the creative direction, with the script, and the shoot schedule and everything, we put together the shoots. And sometimes it's a one-day shoot, sometimes it's multiple days, sometimes we travel, sometimes we go to do different things. And it's the most it's the most fun part. That's also takes the least amount of time. And then from there we move into the editing process, which I love.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love picking music and seeing all the footage that was captured, see the sit-down interview, see, you know, how everything looks, and I start thinking in my mind, even when I'm on set. So my video shoots typically are divided into 2 parts. The first part is a sit-down interview style, where I interview the founder on video. And my goal is not to get them to say what I want them to say. My goal is to ask them the right questions so that I can piece together the right sound bites in order to tell their story in the most powerful version possible. And that's fun. And a lot of times when I'm filming, I will make notes at different timestamps and be like, okay, I'm gonna put this over here, I'm gonna put this soundbite over here, I'm gonna put, when they talk about this, I'm gonna put it over here. And I'll have the whole foundation of the video edited in my mind.
Wow.
I'll already start to hear what the music sounds like in my mind. I'll already start to visualize what it will look like too, based on the creative brief as well. And then getting into the editing project and editing, and then getting into the editing side, I will sometimes spend 3 or 4 hours picking music.
Wow.
Yeah.
Perfectionist.
Because, well, okay, that's another conversation. But music sets tone, it sets emotion, and it makes an audience feel a certain way. And there's a lot of promotional videos out there that are edited and they just gloss over the music. There's like, oh, we'll just grab something random and generic. Corporate style music, it's like, there's a ukulele, there's always a ukulele. And then there's always a snare. Yeah, it's like, Okay, I'm like falling asleep.
Boring.
I want something that matches the energy of my client's story and their humanity and the feeling that they bring and also the feeling they want to evoke.
Yeah.
We put together the edit. I get it as close to being finished and ready to go as possible. I show it to my client, and if they have revision requests, which usually it's like, can we swap this clip at the end? I don't like how my neck looks or something. Or can we change the text at the end? I'll include all of that too. And then I put a nice bow on it, metaphorically, tie a bow on it, give it to the client.
And I'm pretty sure your satisfaction is always seeing them being happy and in love with the product and seeing that they can tell their stories in different ways.
I have seen clients cry before.
Wow.
And when they cry, I cry.
Aww.
I'm like, I'm gonna put some Kleenex on the table here next time. It is a lot of fun. And I love what I do. I get to wake up every day and just do what I love. And that is, in my opinion,
that's the secret.
Next to having a roof over your head, food in the fridge, and amazing relationships in your life, waking up and doing what you love for a career is one of life's greatest gifts. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
I agree. That's why we need to hang on.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for other creatives who maybe look up to you or try to follow your footsteps, or anybody trying to follow their dreams? We kind of did that a little bit when we went through getting back up, but as we are approaching the end of the interviews, if you have any advice for people watching?
I would love to. The number one thing that you should do, you have to figure out what you alone have to offer, what you can provide to this world that is a high value, that people are willing to pay for, that also brings you joy. That is step number one. The second thing you have to do is you have to answer the question of why should anybody hire you versus every and any other option available to them on the marketplace, which includes doing nothing. And when you can answer those two things, and you're able, number three is tap into your drive, your inner wealth that is not defined by the bank account, it's not defined by the car sitting in the garage, it's not by where you get your clothes or the price tag on your clothes. It's how you value yourself on the inside. Once you find that and you answer those two other questions, you're unstoppable. Nothing in this world can stop you.
That's what we love to hear. Thank you so much for coming so quick and making this happen, being so open and vulnerable at times, and being so giving to me and to the audience. It was really a pleasure to have you here.
You're most welcome. Thank you for thinking enough of me to have me on and introduce me to your audience. I really enjoyed. You are a fabulous host.
Oh, thank you. You're an amazing guest. Amazing, hilarious, deep, and inspiring guest. I loved every second of this conversation.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. And to all of you, thank you for tuning in. Subscribe and stay connected to hear more inspiring stories and to get inspiration for people who have already done it.